Welcome to Win and Govern Nigeria, where we help candidates campaign better, leaders govern better, and citizens demand better. Because winning an election is only the beginning. The real victory is improving the lives of Nigerians. Today, we will be discussing President, Governor, Senator, and Representative. What can each office actually do? Many Nigerian voters are angry. And honestly, they have reasons to be angry. But sometimes, we direct our anger at the wrong office. We ask a senator to fix what only a governor can fix. We ask a House of Representatives member to do what belongs to the president. We ask the president to solve problems that require state and local government action. And because many candidates know that voters are confused, they make promises that sound sweet, but do not match the power of the office they are contesting for. That is why today's discussion is important. Before you vote for anyone, you must understand one thing: what can this office actually do? Welcome to Win and Govern Nigeria, where we help candidates campaign better, leaders govern better, and citizens demand better. Today, we are looking at the roles of the President, Governor, Senator, and House of Representatives member. The President, national direction and federal power. The President is the head of the federal government. This office has enormous power, but it does not control everything in Nigeria. The President can influence national security, the economy, foreign policy, federal appointments, national budgets, federal roads, federal universities, federal hospitals, federal agencies, national programs, and the overall direction of the country. So when a presidential candidate campaigns, the questions should be national. What is your plan for the economy? How will you improve security coordination? How will you manage inflation, debt, revenue, and jobs? How will you reform federal institutions? How will you work with governors? How will you improve electricity, infrastructure, education, and healthcare at the federal level? But we must also be honest. The President is not the chairman of every local government. The President is not the governor of every state. The President cannot personally repair every street, employ every youth, or supervise every primary school in every village. So when a presidential candidate promises everything directly, voters should listen carefully. Ask, is this a federal responsibility? Or are you promising what another level of government must do? A serious presidential candidate should not only have big promises. A serious presidential candidate should understand how government actually works. The governor, state power, and daily life. In many ways, the governor affects people's daily lives more directly than many voters realize. The governor controls the state government. That means state roads, state hospitals, state schools, state workers, state security coordination, state budgets, state taxes, markets, transport systems, land administration, state agencies, and many development projects. When people complain about bad state roads, poor state hospitals, weak primary health care, abandoned state schools, salaries, local infrastructure, and poor state-level planning, the governor is usually central to the conversation. This is why governorship elections are extremely important. A weak governor can damage a state for years. A serious governorship candidate should answer, what is your plan for state revenue? How will you create jobs? How will you manage education and healthcare? How will you support farmers, traders, and small businesses? How will you improve roads, water, waste management, transport, and security coordination? How will you work with local governments? The governor is not just a political title. The governor is the chief driver of state development. So, if a governorship candidate is only shouting slogans, sharing rice, printing posters, and dancing at rallies, voters should ask, where is your state development plan? The senator, lawmaking, oversight, and representation. A senator represents a senatorial district in the National Assembly. But here is the mistake many people make: a senator is not a state governor. A senator does not run the state budget. A senator does not control the state ministries. A senator does not directly command state projects the way a governor does. The core work of a senator is lawmaking, representation, and oversight. A senator can sponsor bills. A senator can contribute to debates. A senator can represent the interest of the district at the national level. A senator can ask questions about how federal agencies are spending money. A senator can push for federal attention to local problems. A senator can influence federal projects through proper legislative processes. But a senator should not campaign as if he or she will become the governor of the senatorial district. So, when a senatorial candidate says, "I will transform every community," ask, how? Through which law? Through which federal program? Through which budget process? Through which oversight action? Through which partnership? A good senator should be judged by quality of representation, seriousness in lawmaking, attendance, committee work, constituency engagement, ability to attract lawful federal attention, and courage to speak for the people, not just by sharing items during election season. Representation is not seasonal generosity. Representation is consistent service. The House of Representatives member, constituency voice at the federal level. A member of the House of Representatives represents a federal constituency. Like the senator, the representative works in the National Assembly. The representative's job is also lawmaking, oversight, and representation. The difference is that the House of Representatives usually covers smaller constituencies than the Senate, so the representative is expected to be closer to the people at the constituency level. A serious House of Representatives candidate should be able to explain, what laws will you support? What federal issues affect this constituency? Which federal agencies need oversight in relation to our people? How will you report back to the constituency? How will citizens reach you after the election? What will your constituency office do? How will you avoid disappearing after victory? The House of Representatives is not a small office. It is a powerful platform if the person elected understands the work. But if the candidate thinks the job is only to attend Abuja meetings, take photographs, and return during the next election, then the people will suffer. A good representative must be present, informed, accessible, and accountable. The State House of Assembly member, the people's voice in the state. Now let us talk about the State House of Assembly member. This office is very important, but many voters do not understand it well. A State House of Assembly member represents a state constituency in the state legislature. This person does not work in Abuja. This person works at the state level. The job is to make state laws, approve state budgets, represent the people of the constituency, and perform oversight over the state government. This matters because many issues that affect ordinary people every day are state-level issues. State roads, state schools, primary health care, markets, state taxes and levies, land matters, local development, state ministries and agencies, budget performance. If the governor is not performing, the State House of Assembly should not behave like a praise-singing department. Its members are supposed to ask questions. They are supposed to examine budgets. They are supposed to check how public money is being spent. They are supposed to represent the concerns of their constituencies. A serious House of Assembly candidate should be able to answer, what state laws will you support? What problems in your constituency need state government attention? How will you monitor the state budget? How will you hold ministries and agencies accountable? How will you report back to your constituents? How will you make sure your voice is not swallowed by party pressure? This office is not just about sitting in the state capital and answering yes to everything. A good House of Assembly member must be courageous, accessible, and serious. Because when the State House of Assembly is weak, the governor becomes too powerful. And when the governor becomes too powerful, citizens lose an important layer of accountability. Why this matters? This discussion matters because confusion helps bad candidates. When voters do not understand offices, candidates can promise anything. A senator can promise like a governor. A representative can promise like a president. A House of Assembly candidate can promise like a governor. A governor can blame Abuja for everything. A presidential candidate can pretend to directly control responsibilities that require state and local action. And after the election, everyone starts giving excuses. That must change. Citizens should ask every candidate, what exactly can your office do about this problem? Candidates should also be honest enough to say, this is what I can do directly. This is what I can influence. This is what requires partnership. That is not weakness. That is maturity. Nigeria does not need more magical promises. Nigeria needs leaders who understand the limits and responsibilities of public office. In closing, so let us summarize. The President provides national leadership and controls federal executive power. The Governor drives state development and manages the state government. The Senator makes laws, carries out oversight, and represents a senatorial district at the federal level. The House of Representatives member makes laws, conducts oversight, and represents a federal constituency at the federal level. The State House of Assembly member makes state laws, approves state budgets, conducts oversight and represents a state constituency. Each office is important, but each office is different. So before you support any candidate, ask, do they understand their office? Are their promises realistic? Are they telling voters the truth? Do they have a plan that matches the power they are asking for? This is Win and Govern Nigeria. Subscribe to the channel, share this video with a voter, a candidate, or a campaign team. Because when citizens understand power, candidates become more careful with promises. And winning an election is only the beginning. The real victory is improving the lives of Nigerians. In our next video, we shall discuss. Your manifesto is too vague, how to create 5 measurable promises.